Well. Welcome back to another episode of the All In Show presented by FanDuel. Of course, I am your host, Jordan Bowman. Tiger Paul Craven will join us in just a few moments. He's running a little late today. So I'm going to get us started tonight. I already got a couple of people in the chat, Air Mike and John Sarian, two of our channel members. I'd love to see it, two of our regulars. Good to have y'all. We got a jam-packed show for y'all tonight. We got a lot to talk about regarding recruiting, a lot of positive momentum for Clemson on the recruiting trail. Really excited to break it down, kind of talk about Clemson's strategy NIL-wise and kind of how that's evolved over this the last year or so, and why you're seeing kind of the dividends start to pay off now. And we're going to discuss some news for Clemson's own Tristan Smith, in some positive news. And also, we're going to rank the quarterbacks on Clemson's schedule. So I'm really excited to do that portion. Clemson is going to face some pretty talented quarterbacks in 2026. And want to kind of give you guys sort of a pecking order of what that looks like. But before any of that, make sure, if you haven't already, to hit that like button. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, of course, and share these live streams because they help us more than you guys can know. We're trying to grow our audience and continue the climb. You guys have been so gracious to us, and I appreciate all the support that each and every one of you give, whether you're watching live, whether you watch on the rewatch, whether you listen on Apple or Spotify or any other podcast platform. We love you guys as well. You guys are what make this show possible, and we are greatly appreciative. Let me give a quick shout out to the comment section. I already mentioned Air Mike and John in the chat. Isaac is popping in. Good to see you, buddy. Another one of our regulars. And Possum Jenkins, he has joined the live chat. I believe he's a Miami fan. Love to see other fan bases in the chat. So thank you for joining us as well. But I don't want to waste any further time, really. Kind of want to, just kind of kick the show off with talking a little bit about what Clemson has seen over the last year as far as the changes that they've kind of made. And really the last 6 months in particular, that has seen this kind of meteoric rise in Clemson being competitive for higher profile recruits. I mean, obviously the success on the recruiting trail this cycle has not been insignificant. It's been extremely notable, in fact, with how many kids that they have landed and also how many kids they're still in play for. Clemson's playing the game, folks. I mean, I can't really sugarcoat it any other way. I can't spin it any other way. There's, you could talk about, the staff being hungry and they're working harder on the trail, and all of that is true. The new coordinator hires have helped. But at the end of the day, what Clemson has done and what has made Clemson more competitive on the recruiting trail is they're spending money. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I know maybe some of our more traditional fans, kind of bristle at that thought, and it's kind of the ugly side of college football recruiting nowadays. But quite frankly, the reason why Clemson recruiting had taken a hit over the last few cycles was because they weren't, as competitive financially in some of these higher profile recruiting battles. I mean, a lot of it was, by choice. I mean, and I think for many good reasons, they weren't willing to engage with the bidding wars and things like that. And to a degree, Clemson still isn't doing that. But they are much more competitive in these recruitments because they are spending in the price range that these kids are wanting and demanding. And that's just kind of what you have to do in this day and age in college football. Me and Tiger Paul Craven, we've talked about it over the last few years, and kind of our frustrations with Clemson's recruiting efforts. You have to be in the ballpark. You can't just say, well, we're gonna lowball this kid by $100,000 and think we're going to be competitive and be in his final three, final two, or be the pick. That it was fever dreams. It was wishful thinking. It was kind of um, a wishful, callback to the times of old where we could just say, oh man, Clemson had the strongest relationship with the kid, so that's why he's going to pick Clemson. No, that's just not the reality anymore. I mean, I think the relationships still matter, and hasn't been. I mean, that's been extremely evident with this class in particular. I mean, this staff has done a phenomenal job. So I don't want to take away from that and just say, oh man, Clemson is just bagging up and buying players. That's not what this recruiting effort has been. It has been both. This staff has always been really good. Clemson has always been really good with developing relationships with these high school kids. It's never been about it's never just been about we're gonna spend as much money as possible. They have always done a good job when it comes to building the relationship with these kids, getting them on campus and really making them feel home at campus. I mean, that's why you've seen such a wave of commitments over the last month and a half. It's because of the efforts that they've made on the recruiting trail, developing relationships. Because at the end of the day, the kid still has to want to be there. He still has to be able to envision that he's going to be, taken care of for 3 to 4 years of his life and college career. He's got to feel comfortable. His family's got to feel comfortable. He's got to feel secure, and especially when you're talking about these higher profile kids that, hey, I'm going to get developed. I'm going to be able to play in the league. All those things that Clemson is still able to sell on the recruiting trail. But at the end of the day, even the kids that are quote unquote Clemson kids and quote unquote culture fits, they still want to get paid too, y'all. I mean, that hasn't been, that's extremely self-evident. And we've talked about it, and it's been noticeable when you mention some of the kids that Clemson was really, really high on and had really high hopes for, that, didn't end up in your class because just quite frankly, you weren't meeting the financial aspect. You were checking all the boxes, all of them, except for that financial piece. And unfortunately, I mean, you got to be able to meet that. We used to think that, oh man, if you could pay, that was the cherry on top of everything else that you already did. But no, it's a key component of college football recruiting in 2026, and it's been that way for the last few years. And I think Clemson has finally started to catch up, and I think they've made the investment clearly, and it's one that they were always able to make, but at times weren't willing to. So some of it was, your hand was kind of forced. I mean, last cycle was such a rough hit. As far as your roster construction, with all the decommitments and just the class not finishing the way that you wanted, and another reason why you had to hit the portal as hard as you did in this off season. But you have to replenish that talent. The kids that you brought in from the portal aren't going to stick around. You got to be able to build the bones. You got to have the structure, and that is the high school recruiting. I mean, you can't build a team through the portal. Despite what many people will have you believe. I haven't seen a single team win a college football playoff national championship that built their team through the portal. I mean, even Indiana last year, you could see a lot of the portal guys on that team, but a lot of those guys had been in the program for 2, 3, 4+ years, and still the majority of that team and more majority of that roster were guys that they were recruited out of high school. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if Clemson wants to get back to the mountaintop, they still have to emphasize high school recruiting. They still got to get the high caliber players, and with 10 guys potentially in the top 250, depending on who you look on 24/7 Sports, whether you use On Three. You got a lot of highly ranked guys. Shout out to Jameer and Waffle House Simmons for getting his fifth star. That was such a major recruiting win, and I don't. It kind of, I mean, as big as it was, I feel like it didn't get celebrated the way it probably should have. I mean, I think he's a bona fide 5 star, and he got his fifth star, like I said, on 24/7 Sports. But when's the last time? It felt like it's been an eternity since Clemson has gotten a 5 star. I guess. I mean, Amari Adams a couple cycles ago, I guess was a 5 star on a couple of sites, and of course Sammy Brown the cycle before that. But it feels like it felt like you just hadn't been in the running with a lot of those guys. But now, on top of the guys you already have in the class, you still are in it for some really big fish. Players that you're going up against the likes of Georgia for the services. I mean, obviously the big couple of names that jump out to you are Seth Tillman and Jaden Aparicio Bailey, who have both received a few predictions on a couple different sites in favor of the Tigers. Listen, man, I mean, you still got to finish, and you still got to hold on to these guys at the end of the day. But these guys, I mean, this staff has done a phenomenal job, and Clemson institutionally has made a commitment to, finally making NIL a true part of their recruiting process. And you're finally seeing the results. Clemson has always been a place that players wanted to play. I can think of countless examples in previous cycles of, this is a kid you probably would have gotten into your class and probably would have signed if the financial component was, at least adequate. And you were just coming up short in so many battles because of that. Like I said, Clemson checks all the boxes for what you want. Obviously great location, great campus, an amazing college town. I mean, a great place to play football. I mean, the facilities, the amenities, the staff, the strength and conditioning, the nutrition. I mean, all of it is top notch. Clemson spends a ton and invests a ton in all of those aspects to be a holistic football program. And so, all of that, you have all of that to sell, of course, with the success that Dabo Swinney has had in his career, the 2 national championships. What's not to like? I mean, it's a very extremely attractive place to play. So, I mean, that part was never the issue, and it never will be the issue. It always was, well, am I also going to be able to get paid competitively if I choose you? I mean, I've got X school that's paying me, that's offering me this much, and you're barely giving me like half of that. Like, I mean, that school, I mean, school X is great too. They have good coaches. I have relationships with their staff. They have good facilities. So, I mean, what can you? I mean, if I'm choosing between schools that that are very close to each other as far as all of the other things are concerned, but one is offering me double. Which one am I going to choose? I mean, I can't blame the kid for saying I'm gonna go to the school that's offering me more money. And Clemson, I think, was kidding themselves, and maybe from a little bit of arrogance, thinking, well, I mean, we can just we'll get a discount because we're Clemson. But when you're coming off of a 7-6 football season, and the wheels aren't turning the same way that they were 7 years ago, that luster, I mean, that shine starts to wear off. That attractiveness starts to wear off a little bit. When you're not doing as much winning as you used to, you have to be able to offer that financial component. So, yeah, Clemson has absolutely done a tremendous job. I think this cycle, and I think they've I think they finally started to realize kind of what it takes in this day and age of college football to continue to acquire talent, at least high level talent. I mean, there are certain kids that you'll always be in it for because you're Clemson, but when you're talking about the best players in the country and the players that you build national championship teams around, you still got to be able to offer that financial component and you got to be competitive because these other schools they're offering way more. I mean, so and at least they were. So very very pleased with what Clemson has done this cycle. It was and it's kind of crazy when you look back maybe like a month and a half ago when Clemson's class was kind of sitting and there wasn't a whole lot of they were sitting outside like maybe the top 25 and there wasn't a whole lot of momentum, there wasn't a whole lot of juice. It felt like it felt like your top targets, it didn't feel like you had a ton of momentum with a lot of them, and there was questions about, hey, is the official visit weekend going to kick off the way it has in years past? Are we going to be able to land some of these kids? And it's just funny what a month change can change, and it's funny what a little bit of money can do for your could do for your prospects. So um, Clemson is playing the game, folks, and I think it's time to get on board. It's time to get excited. I think people should be excited about that because at the end of the day, and we've talked about this, just over the years. I mean, you don't have to sacrifice your morals, your principles. You don't have to sacrifice what makes Clemson great in order to be competitive in this day and age in college football. You don't have to sacrifice the holistic football experience, the holistic um, personal development experience that Clemson always emphasizes. You don't have to sacrifice the family atmosphere, the camaraderie, um, the culture that you've worked so hard to build because you're offering kids money. I mean, you're still going after kids that fit your program. I mean, it's like it was so cool when like Santana Harvey, for example, when he committed and he deleted everything on his social medias that didn't have to do with Clemson. Like that's a kid I want that's what a kid I want in my program. I mean, it's so cool to have guys like Kareem Hewley and Max Brown, be leaders in this recruiting class and work as hard as they have to, help bring these kids on board. I mean, I'm you don't. This is still very much a Clemson class when you look at the personalities, the types of players that are in this class. This is still very much a Clemson class of old, but now you have not only are they fits from personality standpoint, but they fit what you want to be on both sides of the football. And it just it felt like in the past couple of cycles. I mean, you were able to get a few of those guys in the class, but they didn't stick around, for one reason or another. So that's the change that I think Clemson has finally come to terms with. They finally accepted that. It took a lot of pushing and pulling and you know the teeth pulling and a lot of nails dragging across the ground, scratching and clawing, but you finally got there, I think. At least for this cycle, and they showed that they can do it. I think that's the biggest thing that I think we as a fan base wanted to see was like, can Clemson spend that money? Can Clemson be a school that's competitive from a financial standpoint to where they're going to, be in competition and be competitive for these top kids? And the answer is unequivocally yes. And I mean, I had my doubts, at times in the past, just because it never felt like Clemson would be willing to do it. But hard times, trying times, pressure, sometimes that can make diamonds. And um, Clemson certainly has their fair share of diamonds in this class. So very pleased with the direction of this class. And again, I titled the show "We Ain't Done Yet." We ain't done yet. So y'all stay tuned. Those of you that follow recruiting and keep up with it, know that there's potentially some more fireworks coming in the near future. So y'all will definitely be on here to cover it and enjoy it. But hey, one thing I have said repeatedly: it's one thing to get these guys in the class. You still got to hold on to them. So I'm not gonna overly celebrate and clap and shoot off the fireworks yet. But I mean, this is a tremendous change from previous years, and um, I think you've done a good job. And I feel good about a lot of these kids. Um, you know, I so I'm very pleased with how the class has shaped up. I am excited to see what additions and kind of the final pieces in this class. I can't wait to see how they kind of stack up. So, um, yeah, let me see what you guys are talking about in the comment section. Um, Yeah, Isaac makes a good point. He says, "Yeah, the brand and family atmosphere still sells itself. Being in the ballpark with offers like other schools is a must. It was an adjustment from everyone. We've seen to figure it out this cycle. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I mean, this class has, they've shown that they're very much Clemson kids. Like I said, this is not it's not a class full of mercenaries that I think are, going to up and leave after one season. I mean, you may have a couple, you may have a few. I mean, that's just what college football is now. But you know, when I look at the makeup of this group, I mean, it feels very much like Clemson classes of old. You have, your high profile guys, the guys that were coveted by a number of top schools, and that are you got your 5-star, you got your top blue chip type of players that everybody that has offers from everybody. But you also have your under the radar players. You have your scheme fits, your culture fits, guys that you think longer term will be good players for you. So it's not a class. It doesn't look like Texas A&M's class. It's not like Miami's class. It's like, oh man, we're just running down the list of 5 stars, and we're getting whoever we want. I don't expect Clemson to ever do that. I don't expect Clemson to be that. Um, but they are getting the guys they want, the guys that are their top priority mostly. I mean, the example of Sean Fox in the past week shows that, hey, the other side of this equation can still hit, and you'll lose a kid because of money if, as well. You're not invincible, and you're not impervious to that. Uh, but on the whole, this is a group that fits very much with, and is very much in line with Clemson classes of old, the ones that got you 2 national championships, and that's the exciting thing. And but again, you got to keep them, and you got to do it again, because one class does not make a national championship team. It takes stacking classes like this back um, to back a lot of times in order to kind of build up a championship caliber roster. So, and you're definitely going to need a lot of these guys next year, because hey, there's still a decent amount of high caliber prospects that are on this 2026 Clemson football team. And so those guys will likely be departing at the end of the year, and you're going to have to go and replenish that cupboard. You're going to have to go get the guys that replace the guys and are going to be the guys of the future. So, um, let's see. Katie Jones says, "Wonder why Clemson wasn't a bigger factor for the Burns running back going to LSU." Yeah, mentioning Trey Segura. Yeah, that was one that. Listen, I think Clemson. Yeah, kind of. It was kind of a cost benefit analysis. I think in a lot of ways, Clemson thought extremely high of Trey Segura. I personally, I think they probably had him number one on their board. Um, but I think with the way his recruitment was going, um, the price tag associated with it, the kind of the people in his circle. I think Clemson just said, "Hey, man, we've got two other really good options. Really three other really good options that we really like as well, and we think we don't think so highly of Trey Segura that we feel like he's a can't miss or he's a must have, and we're not happy with who we get. The other guys on our board, and of course, like and why I praised CJ Spiller and Clemson strategy this cycle with going after multiple guys and having having options, giving yourself options. I mean, Gary Walker is going to be a damn good running back. I'm extremely excited about what his potential is in this offense, especially in a Chad Morris offense. And I think he's still kind of only scratching the surface of what he can be. I think he's a future all conference type of running back. Um, and that wasn't, and I like I said, I don't think he was number one overall on your board. And you were very much in it for Andrew Beard, and maybe that recruitment, a bounce of the ball here or here or there another way could have gone in your favor as well. So, um, I think would Clemson have loved to have Trey Segura? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to be a great football player. I think he's going to be really good at LSU. But you still have to. I mean, with playing the game, you still got to make smart decisions. You got to make you still have to have strategy. You still have to weigh like I said, the cost benefit analysis. You have to understand you know what the value is here. And I think Clemson made a value judgment, and I think it worked out for him. I think it will work out for him, and so far it has. So, um, I'm not too broken up about it. But like I said, I would have loved to have Trey Cigar in the class, but I think Clemson understood. Hey, this recruitment is going in a direction that don't really want to play that game exactly, because we don't have to. So let's just go get the guy we like a lot as well, um, and be cool with that. And again, I mean, the kid also has to have interest in you. So I mean, it's not like man, Trey Segura wanted to be a Clemson Tiger. I mean, Trey Segura, it felt like that recruitment was always trending towards him leaving the state. I mean, South Carolina couldn't get traction. Couldn't get a ton of traction with him either. Um, So, it's not really just a Clemson thing. I think that recruitment was always trending in a direction that, hey, Clemson they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to play that game. And they said, why do that? I mean, we think we've got a really good football player and Gary Walker who wants to be a Tiger, who really vibes with us. Um, and well, we'll add him. Let's go get him because he's a great player. So Um, let's see. Let's see what else y'all are talking about. John talking about the Brendan Sorsby situation. Yeah, that was pretty shocking. He says, my opinion of Sorsby is a little higher now that he made the decision to move on and not let the situation fester any longer. Wonder how much of any of his NIL he'll keep. Yeah, I mean, listen, I I don't know how much of that was. I mean, they said it was a mutual parting of ways, but I think more or less there was an understanding of, hey, this has gotten way. I mean, this has gotten more out of our depth and way out of proportion than we had ever really bargained for. Texas Tech is like, we're the enemy of college football if we play you. Um, and Sorsby is, the NCAA is actively fighting and appealing to make sure he doesn't play. Um, I think it became more trouble than it was worth. Um, and I think it was something that had to happen. I think. Um, so I'm not gonna like give a ton of flowers to Sorsby or Texas Tech or anything like that, but I'm just thankful it's over, and I'm thankful the right thing was done there. Um, I just, I mean, that would have been a travesty to the sport if that was allowed, um, consequence free. That would have been that. I mean, it would have been absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, and people rightfully pointed out what that would mean for the sport. So, hey, shout out to Brendan Sorsby for kind of giving some legal precedent for Tristan Smith to get his temporary injunction, um, and being allowed to play in 2026. Um, so it worked out there. So I guess we got to be appreciative for that. Um, let's see. CJ says something tells me Sorsby knew something was coming and decided to back out. Also, seen something about him receiving his NIL. Hoping that wasn't true. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know how much of that is like, you get a signing bonus. I mean, so a lot of these NIL contracts and their structures, they vary from school to school. So it's kind of hard to say, and I don't, that's probably never going to be made public, at least willingly. I don't think anybody's going to willingly just, release that information, unless they have some sort of ulterior motive. But you know, at the end of the day, if he received his NIL, it's not my money. I whatever. I mean, I can't tell a school or a donor or whoever are collected to what they should or shouldn't do with their money and what they can do with their money. Um, I'm just glad he's not playing in 2026. I think you gotta count your blessings there. Um, and just be thankful that the sport wasn't completely turned on its head, um, because we just decided there aren't any rules anymore. John says, "Sounds like Seth Williams is definitely coming back. At least it seems so after listening to him talk to Jason Priester." Yeah, you know, I the thing with Seth, I love Seth. He's a really personable guy and a personable player first and foremost. Love listening to his interviews. Love listening to him talk. Um, he gives a lot of in depth and insightful answers. He's always extremely enthusiastic when talking about Clemson. I mean, you can tell he loves it there. Um, one thing I will say is he talks that way to everybody. So, when I, kind of evaluate, and I don't ever put too much stock into recruit interviews or recruit quotes, because ultimately that doesn't, give you a ton. Largely say the same things about all the schools that they are, um, all the schools that are recruiting them. But in Seth's case, the things he says about Clemson are the things he has said about Georgia too. So I'm not going to put the cart before the horse and jump the gun here. Um, I mean, there's absolutely a real possibility that Seth Williams gets back in the class. So don't get me wrong. I mean, Clemson will absolutely have him back. I do think he was sincere when he decommitted about, feeling like he jumped the gun a little bit. Um, but at the same time, there's a lot of buzz around Clemson, but hey, he was just at Georgia, and he has a great relationship with that staff too. He really loves it there. So I'm I'm just kind of wait and see mode with him, just because he's shown to be, a player that's hard to read, because he is extremely positive about everybody that he visits, um, and especially between Clemson and Georgia. I truly think there's not very much separating either one of them right now. So I mean, that feels like a recruitment that could go either way. All right. All right, let's do a couple more, and then I'm gonna hit this ad read in a minute. Let's see. Get some more. All right. Um, VJ says, Jordan, please invest in a 4K camera. Love the show. Yeah, man. The camera upgrades are coming soon. Don't worry about that. I already got the mic. But the camera upgrades they are coming. Don't worry about that. See, Thomas says, I think Garrett's play calling was a big problem. I don't think it was fun to go out and play. I mean, I definitely think Garrett Riley's play calling was the ultimate nail in the coffin for him at Clemson. The inability to run the ball. I mean, you could see it on the sideline. Dabo's exasperation at times, just with the stuff that was called, the effectiveness of what was called, all of that. I mean, people love to say that Dabo was running the offense. And, I mean, this was Garrett Riley was calling the plays. He was the one. I mean, he was the one making the game plan. He was the one, game to game. Yeah, that was implementing that in the game, and it just very much was just. And while there was success at times, when it was bad, it was really bad, and it never got to the point where you felt like, huh, I see what this offense is trying to be. I see what it's becoming. We saw glimpses of it in 2024, but the consistency across all 3 years that he was offensive coordinator was, we can't run the football. With 3 NFL backs, I mean, Clemson has the longest active streak of running backs drafted right now, and you couldn't run the football. So I think that tells it all. But TPC has just joined us. Let me bring him on. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's up, man? Sorry I'm late. I
All
apologize
good.
to you. I apologize to all the people out there. I'm so sorry. Um, the night just got away from me. I had some prior engagements, but Jordan, thank you so much for charging on with the show. You've done a great job. I've been watching in the car on my way home, and I appreciate you, man. So,
No, absolutely, man. I'm just glad to have you, because the show's not the same if it's not both of us on here. So
yeah,
I'm over here. I'm over here playing. I'm over here playing. I'm stalling. I'm
It's never fun to do it on your own. We've each taken turns doing it on our own before, but you're right, man. It's never the same as both of us on here. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But I'm here, people. I'm here. I'm here to talk about Clemson football. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to get into it tonight. So thank you all for being here, and shout out to Jordan for carrying the show until I got here.
Of course, brother. Um, and but before we get into that, it's true. I mean, it's tough to do this alone. But what they say. It's you are not alone. Even when it's just me. Yapping in front of the camera. I still have another good friend of ours that is always watching, always supporting us, and that's our good friends over at FanDuel. They are the ones that keep the lights on around here, um, figuratively. I mean, you and I both have real jobs as well, but but
I can pay my light bill. I can confirm that I can pay my light bill.
Yeah, absolutely. But
FanDuel definitely makes the show a little bit easier to do.
That very much so, very very much so. So y'all make sure to go check out the FanDuel Sports app. They are the number one sports book in America. They are doing tons of promos for the World Cup. I don't know if you're a soccer fan. For me, like I was always kind of like towards soccer growing up. I think when I was playing the FIFA games, I think that's with my friends, they kind of got me on it. That was when I really started to appreciate the game a little bit. So now I tune in to a little bit of English Premier League. I'm a bandwagon Manchester City fan, but I always tune in for the World Cup. I love the World Cup, and I'm always excited when that rolls around. Really excited about the United States prospects this year. I mean, especially after that first game against Paraguay, that was incredible. I mean, that might be the best game in U.S. Men's national team history, at least in the World Cup. That was incredible. So, y'all make sure to go make the World Cup even more interesting than it already is, especially since it's in the States, by checking out the FanDuel Sportsbook app and going and supporting them because they support us.
That's right. Great partners over there at FanDuel, the best and greatest in all your sporting bets odds over there in FanDuel. So thank them so much for supporting the show and being a great partner of the Voice of College Football, and specifically Clemson at the Voice of College Football. So,
all right. TBC, we were kind of discussing a little bit of about Clemson has they finally invested, man. It feels like with the success of this 2027 recruiting class. I mean, obviously the questions are, it's like, man, where did this come from? It feels like the momentum on the trail is at a point that we haven't seen in several cycles, and the fact of the matter is, I mean, I know you were probably listening. I mean, Clemson's playing the game, and that they are finally putting the financial aspect of things and making it a true part of their recruiting pitch, a part of their recruiting process. I mean, and we said, like, you don't have to abandon all the things that make Clemson great and make Clemson's culture what it is. To pay these kids, you don't have to have one or the other. I mean, that you can marry the two, and I think Clemson, through trial and error and some really tough lessons and kind of some forcing of hands, has finally gotten there. I mean,
look, I think it's been truly a process for Dabo Swinney and the rest of the Clemson staff when it comes to recruiting, because I mean, we can all look and notice that recruiting as of late has slipped for the Clemson Tigers. I mean, Clemson has always hung out, like even throughout their 6 consecutive playoff appearances, when it was a 14 playoff, their national championships, they kind of hung out in that like 8 to 12 kind of recruiting class range. That's kind of where Clemson's always hung out, right? And they've always done really well when they've been in that realm of recruiting class. And then, with the NIL and the transfer portal and all of that stuff that has changed college football over the past 4 to 5 seasons, Clemson's really fell behind, specifically in recruiting, but also when it comes to the results on the field. Like, it's undeniable. Any Clemson fan out there can see it. Any fan out there looking at Clemson can see it from afar. And I think there's been a pivot in this specific recruiting cycle, the 2027 class. And I think Clemson has kind of pivoted, and Dabo Swinney specifically has pivoted to paying these high school players a little bit more than was previously allocated. Dabo Swinney has always been a guy, and he's believed in it, of you come here, you earn it, and then we pay you. And that has not worked over the past several seasons. And I think there's been a distinct pivot this offseason. Part of it was probably the 7-6 season that just happened. Part of it was out of necessity. And then part of it is just, this is a new age in college football, and you got to operate a little bit differently. And me and you have made it clear on this show that Clemson never had to be the highest bidder for any recruit. I fully believe, and I still believe, and I will always believe, that Clemson never has to outbid anyone for a recruit. They just got to be in the ballpark. And I think that is the difference in the 2027 class. Clemson has got into the game, if you will. They've started playing the game. They've got into the ballpark of some of these other universities' offers when it comes to NIL and when it comes to the money that they are paying these high school recruits to come in. They're not the highest bidder. I guarantee you, every single Clemson commit in this class received an offer bigger at some other institution. I guarantee you, every single one of them has. But Clemson got into the ballpark, and then the rest of the program, all the things that have always made Clemson an elite recruiting program since Dabo Swinney has been at the helm, takes over after that. As soon as you get in the ballpark, the rest of it, Clemson recruits itself. I mean, the micro internships, all the stuff, like the development as a human being, the development as people after football, because football is going to end for most of these guys after college. There's going to be a small portion that go into the NFL. And even then, your NFL career is, 3 to 5 years on average for most people that even make it to the NFL. And that's 5% of college football players. So Clemson really does recruit itself when it comes to the holistic approach that they take to developing their student athletes. And when you get into the realm, when you get into the ballpark, when it comes to NIL, you start seeing what's happened in this 2027 cycle. And I think that's been the pivot that you've seen Clemson make this offseason, is they are willing to pay just a little bit more than they have in the past for these high school recruits. And that's really what it took. And now you're seeing them get back into that 8 to 12 range of where Clemson has hung out in the past and where they've had a lot of success in college football, being in that 8 to 12. We've never had the top recruiting class in college football. I don't know that we ever will, and I don't think it really matters. I don't think you need to, but you need to hang out in that 8 to 12 range in order to be competitive in college football. And I think Clemson's gotten back to that. And part of that is an injection of energy, I think, in Chad Morris as offensive coordinator. I think his production, his proven production for his offenses has made a distinct impact in Clemson recruiting so far. I think Tom Allen and his energy that he brings on the defensive side of the ball has made an impact. And then obviously we know Dabo Swinney, he's the ultimate closer when it comes to recruiting. He's always a guy that a lot of players have wanted to play for. But again, you got to get in that ballpark. And I think that's been the difference in this 2027 class, is Clemson has finally got into the ballpark, and the rest of the program kind of sells itself from there. And that's why you've seen them go head to head against programs like Georgia, against programs like Florida, against programs like Tennessee, and the like, right? And win out on some of these big time recruits. And that's truly the difference. When you get into the ballpark, the rest of the stuff that you sell about your program matters. But until you get into that financial ballpark of what the rest of the programs are offering, it's hard to say no, because look, we can not like the financial aspect of college sports all we want. And I, for one, am not a proponent of the pay for play kind of atmosphere that we have in college football and really in college sports at this point. But you can't fault young people for trying to maximize their talent, because most of these people, most of these young athletes will never see the NFL, and their biggest financial gains will come in college when it comes to NIL. So you can't fault them for trying to maximize their talent and change their family's trajectory or their financial situation for their families. You can't fault them for that. I will never be one to fault them for that. I cannot like it. I cannot like where college athletics are currently. But at Clemson, when you start to, like I say, get in that ballpark, like we've done in 2027, you start seeing the recruits fly in, because Clemson is a unique program. The way that Dabo Swinney runs his program is super attractive to most college athletes, most high school athletes coming out of high school going into college. It's super attractive to them. It's super attractive to their families, but you have to get at least close to the rest of the programs. And I think that's why you've seen the influx of talent in this 2027 class. And like you said before earlier in the show, Jordan, Clemson ain't done yet. Dabo Swinney didn't forget how to recruit. He's just learning how to recruit in the new environment of college football that we are currently in. And I think finally, after 4 or 5 years now, they've figured it out when it comes to NIL and some of the new age college football that we currently operate in. And it's fun to see. It's fun to see the recruits start to pile back in on Clemson. And I think that bodes well for the future of this program and for the future of possible championships to come, at least ACC championships. We'll get to the national championship, maybe in the future, but we got a long way to go. And we are not that program that we were in 2016 and 2018 anymore. But this 2027 class is a step in the right direction. And I think all Clemson fans can be encouraged by the influx of talent that you are seeing commit to the Tigers right now.
100%. It's extremely exciting, and it is reminiscent, like I said, of kind of the types of classes that got you to the mountaintop in years past. So very excited about that. One thing I'm also extremely excited about, I'm always excited about, is our Voice of College Football website. Make sure you guys are checking it out. That's voiceofcollegefootball.com. I'm going to put it up on the screen in just a second. But the Voice of College Football website is your one-stop shop for everything within our network. You can find all of the links to all of our channels. You can find our live show schedule. You can find articles. We have tons of great stuff being put up on there, tons of great content put up on there each and every single day. So let me share that tab for you. Here it is, the Voice of College Football website. As you can see, tons of articles. We have a forum where you can, and message boards where you can go and create an account. It's all free, 100% free. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You don't have to pay a monthly fee or anything like that. You can join for 100% free and join the growing community over there. So make sure you guys are doing that. Like I said, it has all the information and everything that there is to know and to access in the Voice of College Football network. So
yeah, that's right. Great stories written over there. Our live schedules over there. Nothing's hidden behind a paywall. Everything's free. Go over there and check it out. VOCFB.com. That's VOCFB.com. Check it out. I promise you, it's a great website. A ton of people in the Voice of College Football Network do a ton of work over there. Guys that are trying to look, if you're a normal fan of college football and you want to support some people trying to break into the media market of college football, just your regular run-of-the-mill college football fans that just love college football and want to break into the market, go read these stories over there because they're just normal fans just like us, and they do great work. So vocfb.com, vocfb.com, go support. Because these are good people that do a ton of hard work over there while doing their normal jobs. So these are not your paid media members. These are just people that do it for the love of the game, that do it for the love of the sport, like the rest of us fans. So go support them over there. Again, it's not behind a paywall, and every story is free. And you can go check it out over there on vocfb.com.
Yep, absolutely. And if you see this little tab up here at the top, um, our Voice of College Football shop is also available through the website. Um, y'all make sure you guys are going and supporting over there as well. It is a great place to go and get Voice of College Football merch. You can get Voice of College Football branded hats, shirts, koozies, whatever you want. And of course, it's not just Voice of College Football branded. We've got all of our teams branded as well. Of course, we're a Clemson channel. We're going to plug the Clemson stuff.
That's
So
right.
y'all make sure to go buy up everything they got in stock over there too. We've got Father's Day coming up. So if you've got a dad, or if you're a dad, or if any father that you are looking to get a gift for, this is a perfect time to go and get you a little something, for all the great dads out there. So y'all make sure to go over there and support as well, because that is another great way that you can support us and the larger Voice of College Football Network. So thank you for those of you that go ahead and do that as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Another point of news that we kind of heard over the last week, Clemson specific, was a familiar face, none other than wide receiver Tristan Smith. Was granted a preliminary injunction by a judge in order to play in the 2026 season. That's a nice little shot in the arm into a already pretty exciting wide receiver room. I think you and I are pretty high on this group. And Tristan Smith, showed flashes of what he can bring to this offense last year. Made some big catches. Just showed a lot of heart. Being Clemson's first real transfer in the transfer portal era. He was always a guy that I think you and I both kind of have a lot of hold a sentimental spot for. And just knowing his story as well, and what he overcame, and kind of the track he took to get to Clemson. We really wanted this kid to succeed, and I think, hey, him getting a chance to play another year, I thought it made a ton of sense, especially when you see the sorts of things that and the sorts of waivers that some of these other players are getting granted, and of course the Brendan Sorsby thing definitely played a huge role, I think, in him kind of winning his appeal, and I was very pleased to see that he would be returning to the team, and this is exciting news for the wide receiver room. And again, he brings that big bodied, big catch radius type of playmaking ability that I think Clemson could use this year. And of course, in a Chad Morris offense, they will utilize a good bit. So very excited for Tristan to be back on the team. I thought he showed, like I said, he showed flashes of what he could be last year. Showed a lot of heart. I still think about that play against Syracuse, late in that game when they were down, this first snap of the game. The offense is struggling, and they're down 20 points at that point. The game's over, like effective.
At that point,
they were not coming back to win that football game. And he catches an out route, and he breaks like 5 or 6 tackles to get into the red zone and set up a scoring drive for Clemson. Just that, that type of mentality and want to from a guy that, wasn't the bona fide 5-star. He had to go through the JUCO ranks and
Yeah.
make a name for himself and really scratch and claw his way to a major Power 5 program or Power 4 program, excuse me. So I am extremely high on his character and his heart, especially. But I do think he has the ability to be a productive football player for you in 2026 as well. So,
Yeah,
very happy for Tristan. What do you think he'll bring to this offense?
Yeah, I mean, look. First of all, shout out to Tristan Smith. I couldn't be happier for the guy. As Clemson's inaugural transfer portal guy, I think he ingratiated himself to the fan base in a major way. He's a Clemson guy through and through. You can see in every interview that he's ever done since he's become a Clemson Tiger that he is just grateful for the opportunity that Clemson has given him at the Power 4 level. And I think you saw it last year on the field that he proved that he belongs at the Power 4 level. He proved that he can be a weapon. He's a big body wide receiver. He's a guy that can go up. He's got a big catch radius. I think he will be a part of a big time wide receiver group. He'll be a rotational piece for it. He's not going to be a starter, but he will be a big time rotational piece for this wide receiver room going into 2026 football season. Couldn't be more happier for him. I do want to point out that the president of the NCAA is a complete idiot for his comments on Tristan Smith, for his comments of comparing him to the Brendan Sorsby case, which has nothing even remotely close to do with Tristan Smith and his extra year of eligibility. The NCAA opened up a can of worms way back when they let certain individuals, Vanderbilt quarterback, have an extra year. So if you are not going to count his JUCO year against him, you can't count Tristan Smith's JUCO year against him. So if the NCAA stance was that JUCO would count, then they needed to nip it in the butt back when Diego Pavia was doing his case. But as soon as you awarded one extra year for somebody and recognized that their JUCO year did not count against eligibility, now you have to do it for everybody. I'm not a proponent of the endless eligibility, if you will, in college football. But again, if you let somebody else get an extra year based off their JUCO, then you then have to let Tristan Smith get his extra year based off of his JUCO year. That's only fair. So, excuse me, for the NCAA president to come out and speak reckless and idiotic about comparing Tristan Smith to the Brendan Sorsby case, I mean, just shows how out of touch that governing body is. And it shows exactly why they are in the state they are in and why college football is currently in the state that we are in. So I'll kind of leave that there. But to talk about Tristan Smith and what he means to the Clemson Tigers, he's going to be a great rotational piece this season. He's going to be a big body wide receiver with a massive catch radius. He's going to be a guy that you can go throw the ball up. He can high point it. He's got great hands. He showed some explosiveness once he got the ball in his hands in open field last year. I can't wait to see what he does in his final year of college football. Again, if you've ever watched an interview with Tristan Smith, how can you not root for the guy? The guy is internally grateful for what Clemson has done for him. He's excited to be a Clemson Tiger. He can't wait to contribute to the team. And I hope that he has a massive breakout year. I hope he has a career year at Clemson to close out his college football career. Shout out to Tristan Smith. I'm glad he got his extra year. I'm glad that he's going to be back and be donning that Tiger paw on his helmet. And I can't wait to watch him. So just wanted to point that out as far as the NCAA goes.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, man. I mean, just uh, it's no what wasn't even worth like responding to, commenting on.
No,
Like when I read it, I was just like,
like, what are we talking about, dude?
yeah, just an eye roll. I mean,
It's like this is why nobody takes the NCAA serious. When they make comments like that, it's just like, no wonder everybody sues you into oblivion and nobody respects you and you can't enforce any rules because you're out of touch. You have no ability to see reality in front of you, and that's why college football is in the state that it's in now. Exactly because of all the missteps of the NCAA, and those comments on Tristan Smith just highlighted the the idiocracy of what is the NCAA and what college football's governing body has become.
very much so. Couldn't have said it better myself. They're a joke of an organization at this point. So I mean, maybe they always were, but at least there was.
Luckily for them, Brendan Sorsby decided to move on, whether it be Texas Tech pushing him out or he decided on his own. I think we all know what happened there, but he's going to the supplemental draft, and I think all crisis averted there for the NCAA. Again, they get bailed out because they're incompetent. They can thank the Big 12 for that because they had nothing to do with it.
Yep. All right, but we'll leave it. We'll leave it there to just because I'm gonna get mad if I put too much into it. Another thing, you guys make sure that, and I mentioned this at the top of the show. We appreciate all of you guys that listen on YouTube and watch live, and of course, on the Rewatch Squad, we love you guys as well.
Right.
But those of you that catch us on your audio platforms as well, I feel like we've neglected you at times, but you guys are a great and a huge part of what makes this show possible as well. So those of you that are listening that don't know, we are on pretty much every audio streaming platform: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, you name it, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you ever want to put on the All In Show while you're at the gym, while you're on a drive, wherever, where you're not necessarily going to be staring at a screen and able to look at a screen, you can listen to our beautiful voices as well. So it's not just a YouTube exclusive thing. So y'all make sure to go over there. And even if you're not a podcast person, go over there anyway. Maybe drop a 5-star review, because we do want to get those as well, because it does extend our reach beyond just the YouTube space, and gets us in front of more eyeballs, and maybe also in front of around more ears. I don't know the metaphor for that one, but regardless, more people listening.
That's correct.
So y'all make sure to go support us over there as well, because again, it helps this platform a ton, helps out the entire network, but of course us. So y'all make sure you're doing that as well.
That's right. Rate, review, subscribe, guys. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. The moment I've been waiting for tonight, the moment I was so desperately trying to stall some time, stall and buy some time so we could get to this segment with both of us. I wanted to, we've kind of done a little bit of a mini series ranking Clemson's schedule by different categories. I mean, we did the offense, we did the defense, but now I want to rank the quarterbacks, because I think this is an interesting group of players that can give a group of guys that Clemson will be facing in 2026 that could have wildly different seasons depending on how things shake out. A lot of talent on display, I think, and a lot of potential with some of these guys, but also a lot of question marks and a lot of uncertainty. I kind of want to give the people a little bit of a rundown, a little bit of an idea of what Clemson could be facing in 2026, because at the end of the day, um, it all starts with the quarterback in this sport. So, um, this is a very, very interesting group and a challenging group that I think Clemson will be facing. But TBC, do you want to do kind of what we've been doing, offense defense, like with the offensive defense, where we just kind of alternate
Yeah.
our picks, but I go one, you go one. I think that's a good idea. Do we want to start from go first to least like we did last week, or do we want to go least to first?
Let's go top to bottom again.
Okay, let's do it. All right, I will kick us off with my number one. I think this one's not going to be overly controversial. I think it's pretty obvious. But I think the best quarterback on Clemson's schedule is the one they've already seen, Darian Mensah of Miami now, by way of Duke. Darian Mensah, don't really need to say too much. Those of you that watched the Duke game last year knows what kind of talent he is. The numbers he put up at Duke were absolutely ridiculous. Now he's in Miami with better offensive line, better weapons, better everything, pretty much better supporting cast in general. I think this is the easy first pick here. I think he's going to be a first rounder in next year's draft. If all shakes out the way it's supposed to, a guy that just kind of can do it all. Tremendous arm talent. He absolutely diced up Clemson's pretty putrid secondary, putrid safeties in particular last year. But he was extremely he's extremely effective against everybody, pretty much. I mean, he just the types of throws he's able to make at every level of the football field. I mean, that's just extremely talented. I don't think there's too much controversy there. I think it's pretty obvious. I think he's going to be on the short list for everybody for a Heisman candidate, especially with the group he has. He threw for nearly 4,000 yards last year. So, I mean, hey, that's who I'm going with, number one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, change of scenery. Probably not a big change in results. I mean, he's got his number one target coming with him. Darian Mensah is kind of number one on the schedule, right? He's going to be a guy that's going to give Clemson's secondary a big test. He's going to be a problem. I think he's going to throw for a ton of yards, a ton of touchdowns. Miami has kind of been a transfer portal quarterback factory, if you will, for the past couple seasons. And I think they got themselves another one. So Darian Mensah is I think, definitely that QB1 when you look at Clemson's schedule as going to be the most challenging. I think another guy that could be a problem if you look way back into last season, Sam Levitt, dude. Or not, excuse me, not Sam Levitt, Steve Angeli.
Oh, okay.
Syracuse quarterback. Now, this guy absolutely diced up Clemson. If you watched the Syracuse game from okay, let's get it out of the way. Syracuse was extremely unimpressive last season because Steve Angeli went down in the Clemson game. But before he went down, this guy was dicing up Clemson's secondary like it was his full-time job. It was a problem. I think he's a very good quarterback. He's a guy that is obviously walked into Death Valley, took Clemson's best shot, and showed them what's up in their home stadium. So I think that's a guy that Clemson's got to get their get back for this coming season. Tom Allen and his crew got to be up to the challenge and get Steve Angeli what he deserves after embarrassing us in Death Valley with that terrible Syracuse team that walked in there and won. So that's kind of a big guy on my hit list, if you will, of quarterbacks that we are going to play in 2026.
Gotcha. So is he your number one, or is he?
No. I'm with you on number one. Darren.
Okay, I was
Darren is number one. No doubt.
Hey, I wasn't going to argue. I was like, hey, I mean, this. But yeah, I 100% agree.
And it's not even that, like, I think Steve Angeli is that high of a quarterback on the list. There's guys better than him. I'm simply putting him up there because we got some get back for what he did to us last year. So that's my thought process.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily his talent. I want Clemson to
get some get back.
Eat his soul, if you will.
I mean, hey, there's a few quarterbacks on this list that Clemson had that Clemson is going to be looking to get some get back on. Yeah, some familiar faces.
Yeah, there's a couple.
So I guess with my number two, and this one was kind of tough for me. I think there's a tier of guys that are all kind of close together. After Darian Mensah, that are all potential like Heisman caliber players that could be first round picks if they have a strong year. But my number two, I'm going with Jaron Sagapole-Tele. I mean, I talked about him. I talked about him when we were talking about the offenses and ranking the offenses, but I just, when I watched that kid play last year, I mean, there's something about him. I don't know. I mean, I think it's obviously the arm talent and the ability that he has, but I truly think there's his arm talent is honestly second to none in the ACC. I mean, even you could even argue better than Mensah's. He's just a sophomore. So I think he's going to be the second best quarterback that you face and the toughest like in a vacuum quarterback matchup that you'll play. Darian Mensah will have Darian Mensah is my number one because you combine the support, his ability with the supporting cast. But if you give Jaron Key, I'll just say JKS from now on. I'm not trying to flex too much. But if you put JKS on Miami, I think he's putting up numbers too. And if he wasn't at Cal, I feel like he would be higher up. I mean, he's on everybody's radar, but I feel like he would be higher up on the Heisman boards. I think he has a ton of ability. He's my number two. That might be a little bit of a hot take because we might have, we have a little bit larger sample size with a couple of the other guys that are in that tier that we haven't talked about, but that's who I'm going with.
I got you. All right. Next, I'm going to go with Sam Leavitt of LSU. I just think he's in a really great position over there with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin always produces high-powered offenses. It's quarterback friendly. It's week one against Clemson. You're breaking in a lot of transfer portal guys. You're trying to gel together a rebuilt defense, if you will. It's Tom Allen 2.0. It's going to be a massive test for that Clemson Tigers defense. So Sam Leavitt is a guy that you got to be worried about. And what he can do to you week one is going to be definitely a concern for this defensive staff. So he's going to be That's going to be a massive test out of the gate. So we'll see how much improved this Tom Allen 2.0 defense is come week 1, because they're going to get tested.
Oh yeah, 100%. I am going to go. Levitt was going to be my pick, but I'm going to go with Lenore Sellers at number 3.
I like it.
I think the familiar face aspect of it, you've seen a lot more of him. I am somewhat high on the Gamecocks offense this year. I think he'll have a better year with Kendall Browse running the show. I think that offense fits his skill set. I think they're going to get back to the things that made him such a dynamic player in 2024, and what, in part cost you the game in Death Valley that season. I just think he's going to take that step. I think he has the ability, and you give him a year, it'll be the end of the season. He'll have plenty of time to be comfortable in that offense. I'm going to give him the slight edge, even though I think it's kind of tough, to put him over, especially to discount a Lane Kiffin quarterback and a Lane Kiffin offense, but I don't know. I think Lenoris will be slightly better this year.
Lenoris is my next guy on my list. And he probably should be higher because, the dude, I hate to say it because of who he plays for, but he's a really good quarterback. He does his best when he's creating outside of the pocket, when you allow his athleticism to take over, which is what the problem was in a big way in year 1 when he played Clemson. And last year, it seemed like the offensive coordinator kind of handcuffed him behind the line of scrimmage, and he just had to sit back there and survey the field. And you could tell that he was uncomfortable. You could tell that it was not his style of play. It did not suit him at all. And I think Kendall Browse gets away from that this upcoming season. I think he's going to allow North Sellers to get outside of the pocket and create and be that athletic quarterback that creates in space like he is. And if he does that, Lenore Sellers will be a problem this upcoming season because he is a good quarterback. Unfortunately, he plays for the worst team on planet Earth. Poor choice by him, but regardless,
I would be a huge Lenoris fan if he was on anybody.
Yeah, if he just went like anywhere else, I could root for him. But unfortunately, he chose his fate, and I got to root for his demise each and every week. So that's on him, not on me.
That is on him. He made his choice. He could have gone up to Syracuse, and he could have stayed committed to Syracuse, and we'd be praising him.
He could have been up there in Syracuse. It could have been a good thing for him, but no. He chose not to. So I hope he throws for 47 interceptions and no touchdowns.
Yeah, that would be.
He's probably not though.
Yeah, no. Okay, my number. Obviously, that means my number 4. Well, I don't know, obviously, but pretty. You guys could probably guess. My number 4 is going to be Sam Levitt at LSU. And, I think a big thing for me is just kind of the time you play it, the fact that, it's week 1. I don't know how comfortable he's going to be in that offense. And you got to remember, I don't think people understand. Sam Levitt is coming off of an injury. A pretty significant foot injury. I don't know how quickly he's going to be in game shape. All things, they seem to be really positive on at least on the LSU side of things, that, all seem to be good things. But again, it's week 1. And, if last year's opener was any indication, and especially with 2 quarterbacks who weren't, new faces at their respective programs and had been starters and had been established, that was a 17-10 ball game. So, now you're coupling with two programs with completely new starting quarterbacks, one who's in his first year in the program, first year in the offense, a first year head coach. I don't know if that offense is going to be humming week one. And I think Sam Levitt is talented, and he showed a lot a couple of years ago. But
Yep.
last season was extremely disappointing, even before he got hurt. And so I think part of LSU is kind of banking on the Sam Levitt that was at one point on mock drafts being people were considering him a potential number one overall pick. Like, that Sam Levitt needs to show up in week one, and I'm not betting on that happening. I still think Clemson can very well lose that game, and probably and should be the underdogs in this game. But I don't know if it's going to be because Sam Levitt just lights the world on fire. I just I don't. But I do think that the talent, the raw talent, is there.
He's not going to have any problem finding weapons.
No.
Honestly, he's just got to be competent because he's going to have some dudes to play.
Yeah. He's got a good supporting cast, and that's the thing that they're banking on. And if they click week one, early week one, you live with it, I guess. And that can very well happen, but I'm not betting on it, especially since I think Clemson's defense, I think will rise to the occasion to a degree. I think they'll be up for the challenge. I am pretty excited about this defense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important for Clemson's defense to rattle him early. Get some hits on quarterback early, rattle him, and then maybe it starts going their way early. So next, I'm going to go JKS Sagapolutele. Great quarterback out of Cal. Look, man, I'm not looking forward to this Cal game coming up, dude. Like, it's on a Friday night. It's a short week. It's all the way on the West Coast. I mean, just like all signs point to this is going to be a problem for Clemson. Just kind of how the schedule breaks out and how it sets up. And then you got a guy like JKS at quarterback. It's going to be a tough game. And it doesn't make it any easier because they got that guy at quarterback, and he's going to put up big numbers this season for Cal. So that's next on my list.
Yeah, this first group is, I mean, this is a tough one to go through.
Yeah.
All right, next on my list, I guess what number am I on? So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th. Am I on 5? I don't know. I've lost.
I think we're on 5 maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. We're somewhere.
I believe we're 5. All right. For number 5, I'm going with Steve Angeli. Obviously coming off the injury, there's some, there's some questions about how effective he'll be, and Syracuse as just his supporting cast. Not sure how great they'll be, but man, did he show? Man, was he on a roll? Before the injury. I mean, just I would have loved to see kind of what he had, what if he was able to finish the season, what his numbers would have looked like, and whether or not Syracuse season would have been different or not. I think it would have been pretty significantly, because they just the drop off from him was pretty significant. But at the same time, he's coming off injury. I just you can't say how effective he'll be. And I just don't think that Syracuse roster is very good. But I think he showed a lot, and he's also kind of a cool story. A guy that was spent a lot of time as a backup at Notre Dame. He willingly was a backup even after he lost the starting quarterback position. And then he finally he goes and finishes his degree, and then before he goes and hits the portal to go and play football for and get his chance to start. So, just a guy that the type of guy you root for in college football in this day and age, where is just free player movement and guys don't really care about the educational aspect or loyalty to a program. But I I like guys like Steve Angeli. That it's like, hey, it's like, hey, I've put my time in here. I got my degree. I love the university, but now I want to go play, and he goes and he goes and does that. That's I think that's always been I think that's the way that a lot of people like to see it done, but that's just not it's not realistic anymore to expect that. So, but he's kind of a rare guy in this day and age of college football, but again, very, very talented. And I think if he's able to kind of repeat what he showed at the beginning of 2025, I think he could play his way into, a potential shot at the next level. So that's where I'm slotting him.
Yeah. I think the bottom half of this group, or the last like four or so, I think you can kind of go anywhere with them. It's kind of a jumbled mess. I'm going to go Ethan Grunkenmeyer. Virginia Tech's transfer quarterback from Penn State. Obviously James Franklin taking over there. Questions on offense, as always, for James Franklin, kind of why he got fired from Penn State. But I do think he is a cultural fit at Virginia Tech. I think that's a place that is, if they can ever get it going, is a scary place and can become a big-time dominant program in the ACC. So I got Ethan Grunkenmeyer next on my list. I'm just a believer in I was always not really the biggest believer in James Franklin at Penn State, but for some reason, man, I don't know, man. He just seems like he fits Virginia Tech. And they've been in a desert since Beamer left, and they've tried a couple things, and I think James Franklin's going to be good there. Unfortunately, I hope he's not. I hope he falls on his face. But I just got a feeling that he's going to be the guy that gets it turned around in the right direction at Virginia Tech, and I think Ethan Grunkenmeyer is going to be part of that in year one for him. A guy he's familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm with you. Ethan Grunkenmeyer was my next pick. I think he's a guy that obviously familiar face for a number of reasons. Clemson briefly recruited him as a recruit, but also you saw him this past season in the Pinstripe Bowl, and he had a few nice moments in that game. Ended up with a pretty decent stat line. It wasn't an overly dominant offensive performance from Penn State, but I think he made a couple of really nice throws, and I think the arm talent is there. And Virginia Tech is extremely high on him. They haven't formally announced him as a starter as far as I know, but I feel pretty confident he will be the pick. And I guess they're fairly high on their skill talent for the first time in a while. So he'll have some decent weapons to throw to. They brought in they brought in help from Penn State, brought in a tight end, Luke Reynolds. So there's going to be some pieces for him to work with. I think the big question is, will he have the protection? That's Virginia Tech on the offensive line. They've been pretty rough the past couple of years, and that was one of the things that did them in against when Brent Pry was the head coach. So if they brought in a lot of transfers, and they also. But they also retained some of the guys from last season on a line that wasn't very good. So I don't know what to make of that yet. But I do think Ethan Grunkenmeyer, arm talent wise, things go right, he could be a guy that we see move up on this list because he is pretty talented.
Absolutely. Next, I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card here. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech's new quarterback, brother of the former national championship, now Las Vegas Raider, but Alberto Mendoza out of Georgia Tech. I think that's a stable place. I think that's a stable coaching staff. There's some groundwork there. Obviously, they lost their 1-2 quarterback combination, if you will, and kind of had to regroup. They got Albert Mendoza out of the transfer portal from Indiana, backing up his brother. I really don't know how good he is. He's a huge question mark, but I think Georgia Tech is a stable environment, right? So I think if he's just serviceable, he'll be productive for the Yellow Jackets, and that's kind of what I'm going off of because honestly, at the bottom of this list, we're grasping at straws. There's not a lot of proven talent down here. So I'm going to go Albert Mendoza for my next pick on the list.
Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, I think I'm with you. And part of it is just a belief in kind of what Georgia Tech has got going on there with Brent Key.
Right.
But I don't know if he's I don't know if he's going to be able to hit on his potential in year one. I don't know. We just haven't seen it. So he's kind of a guy where it just kind of banking a little bit on just the potential and him sitting behind his brother and having the experience at a winning program. But beyond that, I can't really say with confidence that he's going to be particularly great in year one.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. Again, grasping at straws. All right, we got two more left. I think North Carolina and Florida State are left on the list. And oddly enough, I'm going to go North Carolina here, man. I'm going to go Billy Edwards Jr., transfer out of former Maryland, Wisconsin transfer.
Yep.
Just because, not really because of North Carolina or belief in Bill Belichick, but just that's what I think of Florida State. like I'm just being completely honest. I think that's a dead program. They got a dead coach walking. They're just waiting for his buyout to get low enough to fire him at Florida State. So for all of those reasons, I have to take the transfer Billy Edwards Jr. Out of North Carolina. And plus, I mean, they do have some skill position guys. They did put up some points last season. So again, not a believer in Bill Belichick as a college football coach. I think I made that clear last season before the season even started. But again, I will take Billy Edwards Jr. over the Florida State quarterback, Ashton Daniels.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't know. This one's kind of grasping. I mean, Billy Edwards he's played some football. He had some starting experience at Maryland.
Yeah.
Suffered a kind of a rough injury at Wisconsin. I don't really know what to make of him necessarily. I wasn't overly. In the few, not like I watched a ton of Maryland football when he started, but I can't say I was overly impressed. But I think he provides some stability. I think he's he probably fits a little bit better at North Carolina with Bill Belichick than maybe a guy like Gio Lopez did. But I'm not super high on that offense in general. I don't know. Maybe he proves me wrong, and we see something that we haven't really seen for him.
Yeah, maybe,
but I don't know. He's played a lot of football. He's seen a lot. So maybe that's enough. I don't know. But again, haven't been overly impressed with him throughout his career. So I'm just. But at this point we're at the very back end of the list, and you got to pick somebody.
That's right. Yeah. And then obviously last on my list at the very bottom is Florida State quarterback Ashton Daniels. For all the reasons that I stated before, Mike Norvell is a dead coach walking. They're just waiting long enough for his buyout to get low enough because they're poor and they can't afford it. His offensive coordinator quit on him. His whole team quit on him last year. I don't think it's going to be too long before his current team quits on him this year. I don't think he makes it out of the month of – I mean, he might not even make it out of September. Let's be honest. So I unfortunately for Ashton Daniels, he's taken on a task that is impossible at this point in time. So good luck to him, but it ain't gonna work out.
Yeah, I'm not overly excited or jazzed about Ashton Daniels at all. I mean, maybe in a Gus Malzahn offense. I mean, I think he fits. I mean, they're still going to run Gus Malzahn's offense, even though without Gus Malzahn. So I guess we'll see how that works out. I mean,
who's going to be calling them plays?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that works.
I'd say a prayer for your FSU fans.
Yeah, just
any of your friends that are unfortunately FSU fans, just say a little prayer. They're going to have a long season.
Yeah, that's so brutal.
You imagine going into a season knowing you're going to fire your coach, and the only reason you haven't fired him is because you can't afford it. Like, that sucks, dude. Like, straight up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like FSU, but, like, there's a small part of me, a very small part of me, that kind of feels a little sorry for him.
Yeah.
Except for I don't. Like, the majority of me does not feel sorry.
Yeah, majority of me doesn't either. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, I don't think Ashton Daniels is. I've never been impressed with Ashton Daniels. He's been in football for a while now. I've never been impressed with him. I last year at Auburn, he had a couple nice, okay moments, but he was largely pretty awful. Stanford, I thought. I mean, when Stanford came to Clemson a couple of years ago, I thought he was the worst quarterback that Clemson had played all season. I don't think he's a very good player. Really great athlete. Don't think he's a good quarterback at all. And I'm not overly excited on his prospects. I think the only saving grace is that, hey, maybe the scheme is a little bit of a better fit than it was at Auburn. So but other than that, I'm not overly impressed with him. Don't think he has a particularly good arm, and his athleticism doesn't make up for his shortcomings. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm proven wrong, and FSU surprises everybody, but
maybe
I don't know. And last but not least is we do have to talk about Duke, who probably has the biggest. I don't even want to say unknown because
I forgot about Duke.
Yeah, Walker Eaget. It's probably going to be the starter, the transfer from San Jose State. I don't really know what to make of him. He's been in he's played a lot of football, but it hasn't been particularly great. I just haven't been I'm not overly impressed. I think he threw for 30 touchdowns and 19 interceptions over his San Jose State career. But hey, he's a 6-year guy. He might bring some stability. They have a redshirt freshman, Dan Mahan, who's also competing for the job. So, maybe there's if things don't go well, maybe they start to look to the future. But right now, I'm not particularly high on him. I may be having him low because he is a guy that has played a lot of football, but I don't know. Right now,
we'll see. I don't know.
I don't believe in that right now.
Well, there you have it, guys. That is our QB ranking for Clemson's upcoming 2026 schedule. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Where were we right? Where were we wrong? Where would you rank all of the quarterbacks that Clemson will face in this 2026 season? Let us know in the comments below. We appreciate your feedback. Yeah, man, this has been fun. I like this little series that we're doing for the upcoming season, just ranking various things. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I always enjoy that these segments, because it's just fun, just kind of working it out in our, because we don't really plan these or write our list out. We just kind of talk it out, give our reasons, and go from there.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of what I like about it, is like I like to go into these rankings blind. It just makes it a little bit more fun to do it on the fly and kind of just look at it, and my immediate thought is kind of what I go with. So
absolutely. All right, y'all. It's come that time where we kick the show off to you guys and take your questions, comments, concerns, complaints. Yes, we even take complaints.
If you want to,
we're not necessarily inviting it, but you can if you want to. So make sure you guys are dropping any questions or anything like that. The super chat feature is available. That ensures that your question will be read. And also, we also want to give priority to our channel members as well. Let me see. I think I starred a question earlier. Didn't get to go through and star the ones that really jumped out at me, but I have one. CJ asked earlier in the show. He said, "Where would you rank the wide receiver weapon room overall in the ACC?" I think easily this is a top three at worst.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is top 3 minimum. Yeah. Maybe top 2.
Yeah, I think Miami's receiver room is pretty good. Don't think there's another really. I don't think there's another program that.
I think that would be the only program that you have an argument that's got a better receiver room than Clemson.
Yeah.
So I think at worst we're probably 2.
Yeah, I would agree.
And honestly, like, Clemson has an extremely deep wide receiver room, which, in a long season where injuries are inevitable, I think you're set up for success in that fact, because you could honestly sustain a couple injuries and still be a very dynamic wide receiver room.
Let's see. John says, if the switch flips for Burley and Arundi this year, if the switch flips for Burley, Arundi this year could be as good on average as last year. It's going to be a team effort from those interior guys. It's not going to be, you're not going to have the heavy dose of Peter Woods and DeMonte Capehart and those guys as you did last year. I mean, you're going to have help from multiple sources. That tripped me out when you turned the camera off, because you have my profile pic on there. I thought I turned my camera off. But yeah, no, like it's going to be a collective effort from this rotational group. I mean, it's going to come from it's going to have to come from guys like Vic Burley, but it's also going to have to come from Marcus Strong. Your transfer is going to have to come from Amari Adams. It's going to have to come from Andy Berberija, who I think the staff is extremely high on as he's a summer enrollee, because he was a JUCO commit. So he's going to really get a lot of his work in the spring. But it's going to take a team effort, from this group of guys, and you're going to have high level play at multiple. Not just your first 2 guys. It's gonna have to be a rotational. There can't be much drop off when you rotate guys in and out. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. So Burley, Vic Burley, especially if he really takes that next step, I mean, I think that's massive for like literally for your run defense, and it's just the interior of that line in general, especially without the services of Courtney Kelly. So you're gonna need some guys to step up. Let's see. Isaac Smith, BYOG or Sell, our starting quarterback outplays it. Two of the top 5 quarterbacks on your list when we match up against him. Ooh, that's a good one. And I like how you said our starting quarterback. Yeah, give some room. Give some room for
some change there, if you will.
change. Yeah. Man, BYOG or Sell, 2 of the top 5. So what was my top 5? So my top 5 was Darian Mensah, JKS, Lenore Sellers, Sam Levitt, Steve Angeli. I believe that was I think that was my top 5.
Two of the top 5.
So 2 of the top 5. So they got to outplay. So Clemson's quarterback has to outplay 2 of those guys.
So between
I guess it depends on what you mean by outplay too. But just in a general sense, I mean, like maybe a general statistical sense.
Yeah. I don't. Hold on. I'm trying to. Where was my list? I don't have my list. Darian Mensah, no. Who else was in our top 5?
So
Darian Mensah was number 1.
I had Darian Mensah number 1. I had JKS number 2.
I'm gonna go no. JKS.
Maybe.
I'm gonna say no.
But yeah, it's gonna be tough. I had Lenore Sellers 3.
Maybe.
I had Sam Levitt 4. Maybe. But
yes.
You think that's a yes?
I think that's a yes.
Okay. And then Steve Angeli 5.
I'll say yes. I think they can outplay 2 of those.
Yeah, I'll say yes.
I'll say yes.
Yeah. BYOG.
I'll BYOG that.
All right. Let's see. Katie says, "Have I told you I'm glad Garrett Riley's gone?"
I think everybody's gone, or everybody's glad Garrett Riley is gone.
Yeah.
I think that was. I mean, look, let's be honest. I think most Clemson fans, if not every Clemson fan out there, thought it was a home run hire when it happened. But it was an epic failure. It did not work.
It did not.
So I think everybody's glad to see Garrett Riley gone. Now it was a mixed bag when Chad Morris was announced as the offensive coordinator. Everybody can go back and watch the video that I did about that. And I was not happy.
No.
But the hire has slowly grown on me. He says all the right things. We'll see how it plays out on the field.
And it's paying dividends on the trail too. So
so you can't deny the impact on recruiting. So that's a positive. He says all the right things. We've seen the production that he's had at Clemson before. I'm just not a fan of reaching back in the past and trying to recreate that. That was my major complaint for it. But again, He's our guy. He's obviously capable of producing a high-powered offense. We've seen it. So we'll see. I'm a little bit more of a believer now than I was when the hire first happened.
Yeah,
I've come around to it a little bit over the last couple months. Still not 100% sold, but
no.
I'm more positive now than I was when it first happened. I'll say that.
All right.
But I mean, with that said, can it get any worse than it was under Garrett Riley? Probably not.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Garrett Riley, I guess, but
yeah,
he was a terrible offensive coordinator for Clemson.
CJ says I'm concerned about defensive tackle. I mean,
that's a good position group to be concerned about.
It's a question. It's a question for sure. I mean, you got. I think you. Well, I mean, it doesn't help. You lost 2 guys that you were hoping to, play a little bit more.
Some guys you're going to see this season, maybe.
Yeah,
that sucks.
So, very, very true. You lose one to the portal. You go and get a guy from the portal. He tears his ACL. You have another one.
Yeah.
That unfortunately, gets cancer, and so it's
the hits have come in bunches at the
yes.
defensive tackle position this offseason. That might be one of the bigger question marks heading into the season.
Yeah.
Is can those guys that are left step up? We'll see.
We shall. Yep. I mean, and it's gonna take some. I mean, I think that was all the more important why you got Andy Berberija and what's the kid? Oh my goodness, the kid you got from Texas State. I'm already forgetting his name. That's not good. I promise you. You needed help.
Yeah,
you need help there. So, but it's a lot of questions.
At least a depth piece.
Yes.
Which is probably what he'll end up being.
Let's do a few. Oh, Jackson, thank you so much for joining us, man. Jackson Johnson joining the show. He says, "Let's help Jordan and Tiger Paul Craven get Clemson Voice of College Football to 10,000 subs as they celebrate their upcoming 4th year anniversary at the Voice of College Football Network." Lofty goal. Sitting at a little over 6,000 right now. Hey, why not? Screw it. Let's get 4,000 by the end of the year.
Big goals. 4 years. That's crazy though.
Dude,
let's talk about that for a second. Like, I just noticed that we are on our 200th live Clemson Tiger Live and our 180th episode of the All In Show. That's crazy, Jordan.
Hard to believe.
We've done 180 of these.
It's been a wild ride. It still doesn't feel like we've done that much, but then you realize how much time has passed.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
To think where this show started and where we're at now is crazy to think about. And shout out to all the loyal listeners that we have out there that come and hang out with us each and every week.
Absolutely.
We could literally not do it without you, because otherwise we'd just be talking to ourselves.
So where's TPC's avatar? In the shadow realm.
In the shadow realm, yeah.
Yeah, it's gone. Let's do a couple more and then call it a night. We're hitting the 2-hour mark. You and I both got work in the morning.
Yeah.
If I could, I'd stay up all night and chop it up with you guys.
I would. Unfortunately, me and Jordan got bills to pay, and we got to go to our real jobs.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is not our real job.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if it was.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
Let's see. Hey, CJ said CV plays better than Levitt week 1. Hey, man, we said starting quarterback. With that, there's some.
I ain't saying nothing about CV.
That doesn't necessarily mean. Yeah, I mean there was
maybe it's CV. I don't know. We'll see.
Isaac left it open ended for a reason there.
That's right. Yeah, we didn't buy CV specifically. We just said the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and we didn't. And he just said 2 of the 5 on the list. So could be anybody from that group. All right. Katie. He says, yeah.
Clemson loses. Yeah. Losses are great for the channel.
Yeah.
Great for the channel. Not good for us, but great for the channel.
Yes.
I'll never forget that night that we had to come on here for 2 hours with Mark after the Duke loss.
Dude.
That was a night, dude. We were hurting.
Sick to my stomach.
That was rough.
Man. The memories. All right. Let's see. Isaac says, have you seen any film of the Texas State kid? Any chance he sees playing time at Clemson? Yeah, I think so. Taverick Woods. That's who it was. Taverick Woods. Yeah, I do think he'll play. I don't know how much. I think he's definitely, kind of brought him in just to add some more depth, but he did. I mean, I thought he had pretty good film at Texas State, not overly flashy, but very, very stout run defender with some pass rush moves. But I think largely he's going to be a guy that'll clog up the middle and, eat up blocks and make plays and open lanes for the linebackers. I think he's going to be that type of player. We'll see how much he gets on the field. But I think he'll play a good bit, especially with the hits you've taken at that position. And he is a guy that has played a good amount of football. All right. All right. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always. I always have to show our gratitude seriously for each and every one of you that listen to us each week. Got plenty to talk about as we head into the week. We'll have more recruiting to hit on. I've talked about the momentum that Clemson still has on the trail. So we'll definitely be keeping our eye on that. Especially coming off of this last mini official visit weekend with the likes of Seth Tillman and Segun Alexander, and obviously new linebacker offer RJ Hudson. There's going to be some fireworks still, and you've got guys announcing commitment dates. So we're hitting the home stretch. Clemson is trying to put the final bows on this class, and we're getting really, really close to the beginning of the year, man. It's this is the time of the year you start to feel, hey, we're actually getting somewhere. We're approaching college football season. We're not quite there yet, but we're we're getting around the
We
time.
start thinking about game by game previews and all that kind of stuff. So,
Oh yeah,
it's an exciting time. So, college football is approaching quickly.
100%. But again, we will be here next week, same time, same channel, to talk it all with you guys. So make sure that you guys have liked, subscribed, and make sure you're hitting the notification bell so you know when we go live. But until then, I'm Jordan Bowman. He's Tiger Ball Craven. We'll see y'all next week. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.